This might just be my favorite mod I have ever used. This mod is called Exposure. In addition to filmmaking, one of my many hobbies is photography. Cameras in general just incredibly fascinating to me, so having a mod that brings elements of film photography into the game is just incredible. And while this camera doesn't embody what it's like to have a camera exactly like real life, it is a fantastic start to learn about the process of film photography. The mod adds two types of film. You've got colored film, and then you've got black and white film. Depending on which one you use, it will affect how the images come out, so you get a little bit of options as far as style choice goes. You can put the film inside the camera by crouching and right-clicking, and this is where you would put your film, and then you also get the ability to add attachments to your camera. I really like this GUI because it actually is dynamic based on what attachments you add, so it gives you a visual representation of what you're actually changing. This sunset is absolutely gorgeous. I'm gonna go ahead and snap a picture of that. That's so pretty. Between the three attachments, you can add a flash, a zoom lens, or a color filter. The flash does exactly what you would expect it to by illuminating the dark with a flash. That way you're able to see your image in the dark. Zooming in with a spyglass switches from a wide angle to a telephoto lens, which is just the fancy word for zoom in. The lower your focal length, the more the camera will be able to see. And then finally, we have the color filter. Adding this will just add a tint over your picture. It works with any of the 16 colors, including regular glass as well. One of my favorite parts about this mod is it's compatible with shaders as well. But now you might be wondering, how do I configure the settings in the camera? Well, while the camera is equipped, if you hold down the control, you'll see this fancy UI down here that affects everything we've talked about so far. Here we have the focal length of the zoom. Here's the flash. The filter is toggled just by taking it on and off the lens. And then we also have a composition guide, which allows you to help line up your shots. And then one more setting we haven't touched on yet, which is shutter speed. Now you're probably familiar with the kch sound of the camera, and that is the shutters opening and closing. Imagine this room light represents any source of light. That could be the sun, it could be a lamp in your house, anything at all. This ender chest is your camera, and this trap door is the shutter. Now this is where the kch sound comes from. That sound comes from the shutter opening and closing really fast. Now the reason it does that is when this trapdoor opens, it's letting light through to the sensor of the camera. So the longer it's open, the more light is let through, meaning your image will become brighter. The shutter is exposing the light to the camera sensor, and that is where the term exposure comes from. How might I develop these images, you might ask? Well, that is with the help of a block called the Lightroom. But before we print the pictures, we have to develop the film. To develop black and white photos, all you need is a bottle of water, but developing color is a little bit more advanced, needing a mundane potion, an awkward potion, and a thick potion. In the Lightroom, you'll see there's a slot for paper, cyan dye, magenta dye, yellow dye, and black dye. Once you have all 5 of those materials, you can put in your film, and now you'll see the negatives of your photographs. Clicking on the left or right picture will cycle you through all of the pictures you took, and if you click the middle one, you'll be able to zoom in and see a close-up of all the individual photos. Then, once you hit print, waiting a few seconds will result you with a colored image. Once your images are done, you can go over and place them on the wall or the floor and see all the different photos you took. Here's the print with the tinted filter. There's our picture of the pork chop with the flash. There's Las Luces with the shaders. And then finally an image with a really high shutter speed versus a very low shutter speed. This image ended up being really overexposed because we let in way too much light, but it is cool to see the difference between the two shots. We've got Las Luces in black and white, the diggity dog, and finally the selfie from the beginning. This is such a fun mod to play around with because you can get really creative with how you use the camera. It teaches you a little bit about film photography, and it allows you to display memories in your world. And that is Exposure. I'll leave the mod in the description in case you want to download this yourself. They do have versions for both Forge and Fabric in 1.20, so you should have some options depending on what version you play on. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for me if you would, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.